Welcome back to Dreamscape Horsemanship. We're back with another Groundwork for Success video, and today we're going to talk about plastic bags, the bane of most horses' existence, the arch nemesis of horses. So part of our program is always working with tarps, plastic bags, milk jugs, kind of those plasticky, loud objects. And so we're at the point now where we're about 11 exercises into our program. So we've done all the basic body control, we've done the scenting exercise, we've done the squeeze exercise, and by now they should be very fluid with the stick and string exercises. So when we do our groundwork, even though, we say, okay, this is exercise 1, 2, 3, 4, we don't just do those exercises once or twice and stop. Every time we bring the horse in for their groundwork warm-up before we ride, or when we're just doing groundwork, we run through every single exercise all over again. Obviously, as the horse gets more refined, you don't have to practice and practice and practice. You should be able to school the exercise once or twice and move on to the next thing as part of your warm-up before you ride. So by now, they should be very fluid with the stick and string. So today, I'm going to introduce the plastic bag to Cooper. So we're going to do the same series of exercises and just rub it on him. We're going to flip it around all over his back and his legs, and so kind of the same exercises we did with the stick and string. So you had the flicking over his back, you had the helicopter, you had the smacking the ground, and this time it's just going to make a lot of noise. So this one is just a Walmart plastic bag that's in shambles because it's getting pretty old. I cut it so that it's all one piece so that the wind can't get caught in it and the horses can't get caught in it, and I just have it tied to a basic stock whip. So it has a little bit of a lash on it that I just used the lash to tie to the plastic bag. So it kind of gives you a nice recycled reuse option for all your grocery bags, or you can just tie a piece of tarp to it. If your horse is super sensitive, you can just use a cotton cloth or a piece of old t-shirt, a rag, to start with as kind of your basic flag, and then you can move up to something that has noise if you have a really sensitive horse. So I'm just going to drop the extra lead on the ground here. So step one, just going to rub it on him as if it was a tarp. Make sure he's okay with it touching him. Oops, got caught on the bit there. So again, I have the leg protection on him this time, so that if he does have a moment where he's scared of the flag and kind of runs sideways, backs up really fast, he's not going to step on himself and hurt himself. So not too bad on this side. I'm giving him a relatively loose feel on the halter here. And again, if you followed each exercise and you've refined each exercise like we've been recommending through the whole series, by the time you get to the flag, you should have the reaction that Cooper here has. Shouldn't care. Because each exercise builds on the one before it, and so on and so forth. So by the time you get to this, you should be relatively quiet. So, I'm going to turn this way a little bit just so that I'm not with my back to the camera. I have a bad habit of doing that. I'm going to get him just to stand, pick a spot and stand. Going to let him settle there. And we're going to start with just flagging until it's right beside his front foot there, like the stick and string. Like when we're smacking the ground with the stick and string. So right there, you saw that he moved his face away. He's getting a little nervous. So I'm going to keep it there. And if he needs to move around, I'm going to let him. I'm just going to keep the flag in exactly the same spot, because obviously that was his threshold spot. So now we're over here. Going to move it back to that spot, flag a little bit more. Alright, so there I'm going to get him to come back to where we were standing. Yield that hip. Back up a couple steps. Back up a couple steps. And we're going to try that again. There, much better. A little more enthusiastic with it. And then when he does stand nice, I'm going to release that pressure. So with this particular exercise, with my back to the camera again, with this particular exercise, as long as the bag is moving, there's pressure. And depending on the horse's level of sensitivity, even it just sitting here in front of him like this on the ground could be too much pressure. So you kind of have to gauge your horse's reaction, and when they start getting a lot like upset about it and their energy level comes up because they want to get away, you just got to kind of find where their threshold is, and then work with them at that level, and then slowly over time you'll be able to build that threshold up until it can be flapping right beside their ear and they don't care. Definitely going to need a new bag. This one's shredded. So I'm going to move a little bit closer. Good. Moved his head away a little bit, so I'm just going to stay here. You saw the second I released that, his head came back this direction. There we go. So he's able to keep it in that one eye now. So that's good. We've built that threshold up already. So I'm going to move a little bit closer. And a little bit closer. Perfect. We'll go back to this side, because our threshold was over here. See if I can build that up a little bit more. There we go, moving a little bit closer to his foot there. Take that step back. Good with that part. So now we're going to go and just kind of start flagging his side. Flag his neck, flag the stirrup, flag the saddle, flag his back, flag his hip. So I'm letting this bag touch him every time I put it over. So I'm going to belly, back legs, front legs, between his legs, pretty much wherever I was playing with the stick and string, I want to play with this bag. So I'm going to come up from under his belly, tap his belly with the bag. Good job. Tap his back leg. See if I can't get it to wrap around the leg or go through his back legs here. Good job. And the nice part about using this stock whip is about the same length as our stick and string. Well, about the length of the stick. So I could stand up here by his shoulder and be out of that kicking range and still be able to flag his hip, his tail, right behind him. I could flap it behind him, like all this kind of stuff. And if he was to go to kick at the bag, I'm not getting hurt. And then I can just work with him at that level he's at. If he wants to kick at the bag, we'll deal with it. But I'm not in that kicking range and not going to get hurt. So he's obviously able to handle this, so I'm shaking the bag just a little bit more, making a little bit more noise. I'm also smacking the ground over here behind me. Good job. And I'm going to release all that just for a moment, and then we're going to go and repeat the same step on the right side. So again, you always want to stand kind of that 45-degree angle to their shoulder, and I'm just going to start flagging. So I don't really follow any kind of rhyme or reason when they're this calm about it. I just kind of flag them. If he was to be really nervous, I would start only flagging his shoulder and his neck. And then you slowly work your way back as he relaxes. He's got his foot cocked here. He was just kicking at a blind off the bag. Resting his other foot here. So again, around his back legs, between his back legs, up into his sheath, his belly, front legs, between his front legs. even underneath his chin here, underneath his jaw, because he can't see that spot right there. So see how upset he gets there? Just going to hold that pressure. And I'm just going to keep flagging until we can come to a standstill. Just going to hold that pressure, hold this halter pressure right to my chest there. And we're just going to keep doing right there. He stepped up. He stepped up into that halter pressure, so I'm going to give him his face for a second. We're going to ask him to step up. And we're going to try this again. You can tell he's a lot more upset about this because he can hear it, but he can't see it. So he's actually turning his head to be able to find that spot where he can see the bag with one of his eyes. So that spot's always going to take the most development under their chin there, and we'll just keep playing with it. So right there, he's at least getting tolerant of it. I would like to see his head relax just a little bit more. But I can get a little bit more aggressive with the flapping of the bag, and he's pretty calm about it. So then we can go back to the figure 8 like we did with the stick and string. So if he's going to charge off like that, I'm just going to bump him back to me. Usually I let them move their feet a little bit because it's safer for them to move their feet in most cases than it is to make them freeze and stand still. Freezing and standing still leads to blow-ups. Moving the feet, you can just redirect that energy back to where you wanted it to be, and you just keep going. So as he stands, I'm going to go a little more aggressive with the flapping. There we go, the threshold's getting, I'm almost at that threshold. There we go, I passed it. Passed that threshold. Really sensitive horses, once they're fine with all these exercises, I'll actually take this and attach it to the saddle above them, almost as if they're carrying a flag, so they get used to something being above them and moving while they're moving. So almost like a pretend rider, this little plastic bag will be up there flapping around. Get a little bit more aggressive with the flapping of the bag again, so you can see he's not really reacting to it this time. His nostrils are nice and even, so he's not carrying too much tension in his muzzle there. Gonna get a little more aggressive. Better. So then I'm gonna rest. Let him, eventually you have to give them that release when, even if they're standing still, because you have to let them know that eventually, if they do the right thing, which for me, with this exercise, is standing nice and still like this, nice and relaxed, now he's starting to fall asleep a little bit, you have to be able to let them know that as long as they do the job you're wanting them to do, or they give you the right answer, eventually that pressure will go away. And I'm going to have to really go away with the pressure because my bag is just about completely toast here. So that's pretty much this particular exercise. So as your horse gets more refined, you can get a little more aggressive with the bag, and you can do it at all sorts of angles. And the optimum level of this exercise would be once your horse is under saddle, you can ride around doing all these exercises under saddle, flapping the bag from the saddle, and still ride around nice and calm. But obviously for Cooper, that's a little ways off yet. So we're just going to keep playing with this in our beginnings of under saddle, and hopefully by the end of his training program, we can walk around doing this under saddle. So thank you for watching. Stay tuned for our next episode of our Groundwork for Success series, and we will